Welcome back to my channel. My name is Christopher Claflin, and if you've been watching my stuff lately, you know I've been doing a lot of Photoshop work with little toy cars, die-cast vehicles to make Photoshop composites that aren't quite what they seem. I'm using these things to bend reality a little bit. And today is gonna be kind of the last automotive themed photo for a while, so I wanted to use my Corvette C7 and give it a little bit of body work and also put it in a background that looks just awesome. But I'm just going to have this one car. It's gonna be the centerpiece of this photograph. And I'm realizing that I haven't given anybody a proper tour of this car, even though I've had it for like 3 or 4 months. So that's what I'm gonna do first, and then we'll come back here and I'll show you exactly what I did to this image, the original image that I snapped right here. I'll show you the work that I did to that after we check out the Corvette. So let's go do that, and then we'll come back here and get to the rest of the episode, shat we? We shat. This is my 2016 Corvette Stingray, and I love this car. So this car is pretty special to me because 3 years ago, almost to the month, I was fired from a job that I hated but really needed by a boss that I couldn't stand. And that story of how I got fired is like its own story for another day. But the guy that fired me was one of those people who was just so incompetent. I just remember being so destabilized by the whole event that I swore to myself I would never work for anyone else again, because I never wanted somebody to have the power to derail my life with a signature. And so I started a web and mobile app development company. And at the beginning, it was just me. And my wife and I had like $400 in savings because we had just had I had just had my face smashed into the pavement in the stock market, which I was trading full time. Like everything that I had attempted just hadn't worked out. And the first 6 months was hell. Like we were living off of credit cards, going into debt, and it was crazy. But around the 6-month mark, things started to change. Like my cash burn rate matched what I was bringing in. Like we weren't having to go into debt anymore to stay in business. So then I started paying off debt. And then by the end of the first year, I was making more money than I would have been able to make at any position within the company that I got let go from. And things kept going. And then last year, things just they blew up. And so I decided at the beginning of this year, I'm gonna buy myself a sweet car. I never really appreciated like how well this is designed. Like almost everything about it is just like beautiful. And here are some of the things that I love about this car. When you get into this, it feels like you're in a cockpit. Like this feels like it should cost 2 or 3 times as much as the MSRP. I've been in a couple of Ferraris, and the interior on this was way nicer than the Ferraris that I've been in. But I guess I'm comparing apples to oranges. I just was really impressed by the interior. The other thing that I love about this car is the roof pops off. And the roof in this one is transparent. It's not as easy to tell at first glance, which I really like, but you can see through the top of this. And when you're inside, even with the top on, it like opens everything up in the car. And this pops off, and there's latches in here where you just pop the hood in place and you can drive around with the top off. It's awesome. And I opted for the manual transmission. I know is slower when it comes to lap times, but it's just so much fun to drive, and I love it. It's the best. This is like, every time I get in this car, it puts a smile on my face. I love driving it. I have no regrets. So there are just one or two things about this car that I don't love, and I'll point those out right now. So it's got these great Boomer chrome wheels. I'm not a huge fan of chrome, don't hate it, but I don't love the chrome. But the one thing that I don't love about the C7 is the nose. There's just something about, well, actually from this angle, it looks pretty aggressive and awesome. But from other angles, there's just something about the front of the car that looks just a little bit soft. It's the only thing that I don't 100% love, but it doesn't diminish my appreciation for this car, because it's awesome. I love it. Thanks for indulging me. Thanks for letting me give you the tour and the walk around of this car, and thanks for letting me like kind of give you some of the backstory. If you want to check out my business, I'm at CompleteWebLaunch.com. If you need a website or a mobile app built, or even web-based applications, we will take really good care of you. So that's my plug. Back to the episode. That car is so awesome. I love it. I love it. So before moving on to the photo shoot of the car, I want to explain one of the counterintuitive pieces to doing this in Photoshop. Even though we're dealing with a life-size vehicle, a life-size person, and just replacing the background and manipulating a few elements on the car, you don't want to start with the photo of the life-size object, because I'm going to be inserting the car and myself into a background, and the background matters a whole lot. There's information inside of that image that I'm going to have to use in order to position myself and the car to match lighting sources as best I can to eliminate more work for me to do in Photoshop later. So here's the two images that I chose. And the direction of light on these two images determined where and how I parked my car and set up the tripod while I was out shooting this thing, before even getting everything into the computer to edit later. So I'm here at a park, which has now become my favorite place to go and do photo shoots because COVID-19. This place is dead, it's empty. Strange times. I'm gonna set up the tripod. So the first photo, I want this to look kind of like this is just in a underground parking garage. So that's photo number one. Everything's set up, got the 1DX on a 10-second timer so that I can be in the frame. So the other background that I want to place this car in, it's almost like a tunnel. It's really weird. This is what it looks like. In that image, the light is coming through these big giant concrete slats, and it's almost behind the car. So I'm going to reposition the Corvette so that the light source is coming in from behind, and it'll make it a little bit easier to illuminate the car in Photoshop to make it look like it's part of that environment rather than just in a random parking lot. So that's the next shot that I'm going to set up. And I think that is a wrap for the park. My favorite part is next, which is driving this back home. So now that I got my images, we're on to the fun part, which is manipulating this vehicle. And I had some ideas. Like at first I thought, well, I'll like pull some elements from a Lamborghini Aventador and make this car look like really exotic. But it pulled the car a little bit too far away from the essence of what it is. So what I ended up finding was this bumper for the C7. This bumper is meant for the car that I have, and I found this as part of a body kit that was for sale. So I pulled the image from the internet and started warping it around my car in the image to replace the front bumper, which, like I said, is the one thing about the vehicle that I'm not 100% sold on. So we'll start with photo number one, which is the Corvette superimposed into this like white tunnel with big slats. I'm sure that this is a real location and maybe I should know where it is, but I don't. What really made me happy about the way that this turned out is I was able to match the front bumper to the rest of the body of the car in terms of like the color there, and it turned out just beautifully. I really love the way that this image came out. The other image, the image of the Corvette inside the parking garage, I didn't change anything about the Corvette besides the color, exposure, and saturation. But one thing that I did do that was a lot of fun is I was able to add the reflective surface from the ceiling, because it has this row of lights and these metal slats running across the garage. Obviously the paint is reflective, and so I would have been able to see those lights. And so what I did is I copied the roof and dropped it down on top of the car, brought the opacity way down, and then I warped that image on top of the car to match the contours and the curves on the hood. And then I added one more layer to add some like reflective elements, some highlights off of the paint, and everything turned out pretty awesome. And so here are those two images, the final pieces. Let me know what you think. So thanks again for tuning in to check out this episode. I hope you liked it a lot, and subscribe for more, because next week I'm going to do a post-pandemic COVID-19 apocalypse photo shoot. There's going to be a lot of Photoshop work in this one, so I'm really excited about it. Can't wait to share it with you. That's going to be the next episode. Hopefully it'll publish here in a day or two. And you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Christopher Claflin. And until next time, I hope everybody stays safe, stays healthy. I hope you are doing okay wherever you are. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.